What's going on, everyone? I'm Rohan. I'm a 5th year medical student currently studying at Cardiff University, and today, now I realised that I made a video on everything about medical school, but I never actually showed you what the training path is actually like to become a doctor. So I thought I'd give you a full breakdown of what all that's about, because it's different in a couple different countries. So sit back, relax, let's get on with it. Now, medical school, unlike other courses, requires a bit of pre-planning before you can actually apply. Basically, due to the fact that medical school requires work experience, medical work experience, volunteering, all that stuff. Now, obviously, due to the apocalypse a couple years ago, yeah, you know what I mean, medical schools were a bit more lenient and kind when it came to like GPs or hospital placements, because potential medical students just couldn't get any. But since then, with hospitals opening again and potential medical students being allowed back into the hospital, medical schools are looking at it a bit more, and as always, having it in your personal statement can make it more likely for you to get into medical school and make you stand out from the crowd. And if you want to look at more personal statement stuff, then have a look at my YouTube video, which I made on this a while ago, because it has all of the necessary information that you may need to perfect your personal statement. So what type of volunteering or work experience can you do to get into medical school? So types of work experience can range from medical, so hospitals or GPs. Write down in your personal statement what you learnt and not what you did. And volunteer work can range from anything from charity shops, care homes, helping your family, helping your friends with activities, helping your youth centres or religious centres like temples, mosques, churches. Now, 17 years old. Now, this pathway that I'm mentioning right now is based upon you applying to medical school straight from A-level, but there's also a bunch of people that I know who went to university for a completely different degree and then came to medical school after. So there's a variety of pathways to get into medical school. On the year of applying for medical school, so usually when you're 17 or 18 years old, if you're an early bloomer, you will be sitting your UKCAT, UCAT or BMAT. These are the entry exams for your chosen medical school. UCAT consists of 5 categories: verbal reasoning, which is basically critically evaluating a written text; decision making, which assesses an individual's ability to make sound decisions; quantitative reasoning, which is critical appraisal of mathsy stuff; abstract reasoning, which is kind of like the one, the 11 plus, the assessment of using of convergent and divergent thinking, so shapes and stuff; and then situational judgment, which basically measures the capacity of an understanding of an individual in real life situations. The BMAT basically is your maths, English, science, all that stuff, completely different to your UKCAT. But I did the UKCAT. The whole UKCAT or UCAT exam is about 2 hours, and from experience, it is rough. 18 years old, congratulations, you've got into medical school where you'll be doing placement, learn to do medicine for the next 5 or 6 years, depending on whether or not you intercalate, which is what I did, take a year out, do a completely separate degree. You're 24 years old. This is your final year of medical school. You have to sit the SJT, which is a situational judgment test, which is kind of like the one that you took to get into medical school, but just more difficult because obviously you're becoming a doctor now. The PSA, which is the prescribing exam to make sure that you can actually prescribe some medication to people, mathy stuff. You have to pass your progress test for that year. You have to sit your finals, which are your OSCE exams. If you want to learn more about that, then hit up and check out my previous YouTube videos about OSCEs. And now you have to apply and rank your choices for where you want to work for the next couple years as your foundation training. So 24, you've graduated from medical school. Congratulations, you are now a doctor, but you're not GMC qualified, which you can only become GMC qualified by the General Medical Council once you have completed your first 2 years of foundation training. So after 6 long years of medical school, after all these stressful days and learning so much that you can completely poop out a textbook, you graduate medical school in June and then you start working in July. So you haven't really got much time off. Then you have foundation years 1 and 2, so F1 and F2. This is where you work for mad hours with measly pay. Try to save as much money as possible to eventually build up to get that Lambo. Afford a house for your family and raise children. F3, foundation year 3. Now this is a year where most people take a year out of medicine, so either work as locum, so part-time, and then get to travel around the world after 2 years of stress. So some people locum and get paid absolute bank and also get some experience under their belt, especially if you're applying to competitive specialities, for example neurosurgery. Now you have to apply for your specialty training. Now you have to consider whether or not you want to be a GP, so general practice, go into ophthalmology, ENT, neurosurgery, other types of surgery. Now, let's say you wanted to be a GP. That's going to set you back 3 to 4 years after foundation training before you become a full-fledged GP. On the other hand, if you want to become a neurosurgeon, it's going to be 8 years after you start foundation training to become a consultant neurosurgeon when you start making absolute bank. So with GP being one of the shortest training pathways, you will be a fully qualified GP 12 years after starting medical school at the grand old age of, drumroll please, 30 years old. Once you're fully qualified, now no longer in your training pathway, you can work for your own, you can work as a partner of a GP, you can work privately, there's just a whole range of options. You just have to get there first. So I hope that was helpful. That in a nutshell was just how you get through medical school and how you become a doctor and the training pathway. Obviously, if you need more experience, for example, if you're doing neurosurgery, which is super competitive, you are going to require a lot more years. When I was a placement, I even met a doctor who was in his F6 year because he wanted to be a pediatric surgeon and just didn't have enough experience. But it's all dependent on what speciality you want to go to. Once again, thank you for watching. If you have any more questions about medical school, then hit me up in the comments below. If you want to know what's going on in my life every single day, then look at TikTok. I basically post there all the time. Let's go.